All right. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Let's see here. Let me put the chats where I can see them. In the OBS. Here we are. Good afternoon, or I should just say good day. Gary T, don't know what time of day it is for you, but it's afternoon for me. But good day, nice to see you. Beata Graph, how's it going on YouTube, my friend? Nice to see you as well. Welcome, everyone. This is the Deep Dive. If you are new, if you haven't caught this program before, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is a weekly live stream program, the Deep Dive, which is typically looking into things related to CircuitPython. Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython, is usually who does the deep dive stream, but he's out this week. And when he's out, if I am around, then I will fill in and work on some CircuitPython stuff as well. So that's what we're doing this afternoon, is looking into some more CircuitPython stuff. If you are new and haven't caught the stream before, and you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more about it at the main website for it here, circuitpython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. This allows you to write Python code, which these tiny computers actually interpret and execute for you, and it can interface with all sorts of other bits and bobs and pieces of hardware. In particular today, I'm still working on the Feather Sense, which is a Bluetooth one of these microcontrollers. It does happen to have a bunch of sensors and things on board. It has, I think, a light sensor, maybe a microphone, accelerometer, temperature sensor, humidity, that kind of stuff. I don't remember what all of them are. That's the one that I am using today, but on the downloads page, we can see there are, 515 different devices currently that support CircuitPython. So these microcontrollers come in all different shapes and sizes. Not all of them have the same features and capabilities. In particular today, I'm working on the Bluetooth workflow, which is obviously something that's going to be specific to only the Bluetooth microcontrollers. But there is a whole world of microcontrollers, outside of just the Bluetooth ones as well. There are some with Wi-Fi antennas. There are some with, no radio connectivity. And you can add it if you want, but if you don't need it, then you don't have to have it. So all kinds of different things going on there. Thanks as always to Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. If you want to help support CircuitPython and Adafruit, the easiest way to do that is just head over to their website, adafruit.com, and purchase hardware from them, because they are the ones helping, keep CircuitPython running by paying the team who's working on it. So Scott, who's normally streaming at this time, during the deep dive, the lead developer is paid by Adafruit to work on the project full time. There's a couple other folks who are paid to work on it full time as well, and there are some folks like me who are paid to work on the project part time. And Adafruit is doing that, and it's all made possible by people purchasing hardware from them. They manufacture the microcontroller devices themselves, like the Feather Sense device that I'm using today is an Adafruit design device that they designed and manufactured and sold, but they also do create all kinds of other sort of ancillary stuff, accessories and things that you can hook up to your microcontroller to do other stuff with. And then they also resell parts and things from other manufacturers as well, like the Raspberry Pi Pico, for instance, is made by the Raspberry Pi company or foundation or whatever. Obviously not Adafruit directly, but you can buy those when they're in stock there. I refer to him as Tim the Magician. Nice. I get let me see if I can fix my chat here. Where is interesting. Well, that's convenient. There we go. Okay. Yes, Tim the Magician. I got a lot of jokes around that, I guess, growing up. I mean, the anecdote that I have for it is mostly related also to Magic cards, so I won't go too deep into it, but There's a wizard in there that people call Tim for a similar analogy. Okay. So how's it going? Also to Abados over on the Discord as well. I should mention, if you do want to join us in the chat, if you have questions, if you want to leave comments or something like that, the Discord is the best place to do that. It's linked down below, Discord, adafru.it/Discord. We're in the live broadcast channel during the stream, as is typical during the live streams. And then I will try to keep an eye as well on the YouTube chat, but it is not as prominently on my screen, but I will try to keep an eye on it. And then the other chats, there are a few more like Twitch and some other places like that, Twitter. Those are beyond my reach. So if you're there, you're welcome to watch along. I know the stream is streaming out to a bunch of different platforms that may have comments and things. You're welcome to watch along, but anything you put in there, I will not see. Discord is where you need to head. If you've got questions, comments, or anything like that. Doing good. Just working with a Feather 2040 and a Feather Ethernet. Nice. Got the RP2040 Feather going with some Ethernet action there. Okay, so jumping right in, I'm picking up where I left off on the last thing I worked on when I was on Deep Dive, as well as the last thing I worked on my own stream over on Saturdays, which is still BLE integration. We're getting pretty close, and I'm hoping to finish it up within the next week or so, ideally. Hoping to knock it out, the rest of the stuff this week, and start getting some feedback from some other folks, hopefully, who can use it and try it out. The main things that are left to do right now are the, I believe it's called install dir command, right? Install dir BLE. So inside the BLE backend, we have an install file BLE right there, but we also have an install dir BLE, and the difference obviously file versus dir. This one will upload a single file from the local computer to the microcontroller. This one will try to upload an entire local directory to the microcontroller. So all the files that are inside of that directory will get uploaded, as well as, you know, a directory by the same name itself, or whatever. You don't really upload directories per se, but so this doesn't work. I don't think it needs some help. I will cop to it though. The last time that I was working on it, this was getting me into some weird states where my Bluetooth was getting kind of locked up, and I was either having to toggle it on and off, or I even eventually got to a point where I kind of had to reboot before it would come back and do anything for me. And I can't really reboot while I am doing the stream, because the stream is running from the same computer that I'm working on here. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, we're going to try not to get into a state where we're all locked up with no other option but to reboot. And on account of that, in order to hopefully help achieve that, I think what I'm going to do is not actually start with install dir BLE, and instead, I think I'm going to start with delete. Because delete is the other major thing that is not done yet. And I feel like it should be kind of like quote unquote safer. Hopefully we're less likely to end up in a situation where we're completely locked up with delete, because the delete pretty much should just be we write to it and then it writes a reply back to us, and then we're done, I assume, right? Let's check out where we're at here. Opened up a can of worms for myself after I got the PPK2 this week. Deep Sleep Adventures, here I come. Nice, the power profiler. Probably weather and air sensors initially, but I'm but long term, it's intended for whippersnapper. Nice. I love to understand my radio needs enough to accept BLE low power project 2, but Wi-Fi for now. Okay, so yeah, for delete a file, we are going to send what? So the header has got 1 byte for the command, as always, 1 byte for padding, path, length, 16-bit number for the length of the path, and then the path itself. So that's all we need to send. And then it replies back with single byte answer command, or status command, status byte, whatever. well, like status command? I don't know, because the next one is actually status. So I don't know. Command, I guess, it's technically just a different command for this case. Like it's 30 and then it replies 31, so it increments. And then we do get a status, and the status is either going to be a 1 for success and the file or directory was deleted, a 5 for failure because of a read-only file system, or a 2 failed because the path is non-existent. So we gave it a path that is not actually a file. And it's important to note, this will delete the file or directory at the given path. Non-empty directories will have their contents deleted as well. So by default, this will actually delete a full directory, which we might want to prevent. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So inside of commands, we have rm command, rmcli. This is going to try to call uninstall, which is expecting... Let me look at the uninstall inside of web real quick. So that's device path. Honestly, we don't really... I should go through and remove these. I don't think we really need these anyway, though. Okay. Okay. So we'll want to keep the interface the same, but realistically, we're not going to really need a path for that. That could just be none or blank or something. Yeah, I don't even think we need a path in this one, truthfully, but that's all right. It's there currently. And then we just give it... So it's going to call get file path. Let me see the BLE one of this. That's going to do what? Wait. That's the wrong thing. Where did that go? Where is this get file? Okay, that's just going to be... Okay, that's going to prepend for us. That's going to prepend the slash, okay. So then we're going to be able to pass just the name of a file or directory. Okay, and I think it probably makes sense to put this... well, let's see, we don't have an install. I'm going to say put it near install. I mean, we have install file BLE. We don't have... I think there's actually supposed to be a function called install. Source. So this is going to get a device path, which we're not really going to do anything with. Actually, just... I think we need to pass it for now, device path. And then we're going to get the path, like the thing we want to delete. So the target path, target path. And honestly, this is pretty similar to create directory. In that it's just writing something to the BLE and then reading something from the BLE. I don't think we need these. This is used in Lister, some others maybe. I'm going to paste this to start with. I'm going to delete these. So inside of uninstall, we're going to have an async function BLE uninstall. Gets past the address. That's going to create the client. Client. It's going to pair. We don't have create dir path anymore. We have target path, and we're going to be deleting it. Not creating it, but we do need to... We do need to encode it, I guess. So we could say... delete path. It's not a clear reason for it to be a separate thing necessarily, other than I don't necessarily want to like reassign the... Isn't it bad practice to reassign the argument variable? I feel like Pylent or something complained about that. So let's see, delete path, we would be... So this is kind of weird that it's using the f string. I think it used to do some more stuff here. We can really just say target path encode. That's going to take our path, encode it to bytes for us. Then we've got delete path there. The length is going to be there. Coded command. Okay, I was like, we must be sending the path. Let's see, so that's going to be... Encoded command is basically the header, and then we're going to add to that the bytes of the path. But we do need to make the header correctly. So that's going to be the 30, which is probably like RM or something. Let me split that, actually. Delete. Okay, let's fix the packing. This is totally not going to be right. So we have 1 byte, then 1 padding, so BX. We should have path, which is H. And then we want the path after that, so we actually just don't need any of this. So command, padding, path length, and then path itself will come after that. Okay, so then we're going to read. We're expecting 2 bytes, basically. Command. And status. Command status, no modified time. Get rid of that. This is now just byte. And then... if command is not delete status, if command is delete status and status is okay, then RM is completed. If command is delete status, but status is error, then... So error, that's 2, I think. What is that? 2. Okay, that is error. 2. So 2 was file not found, basically. Path is non-existent. Supplied path was not found on the device. And then read-only, that one is 5, which is here, and then we can say error deleting storage is mounted read-only. Okay, so then that's going to run uninstall. How's it going, Professor Stevens? I am working on BLE workflow integration. So I don't know how familiar you are with CircuitPython, the wider project, but CircuitPython has a BLE workflow which lets you manage files over Bluetooth, and I'm basically working on a command line tool that will just interface with that workflow and allow you to manage files, via the command line on your PC, where the actual communication is going between the PC and the microcontroller over Bluetooth. After should be fine. So that's, I think, really everything we need. Uninstall path, delete path. I feel like that's everything we need in here. Now, eventually, I do think we should add logic here that says, like, does the file exist already or not? Maybe even some other stuff, because, like, RM on Linux doesn't let you delete a directory. I should say, though, we're not necessarily... I would say that AMPI is the thing that I am most directly kind of taking reference from, so I would say might defer to however it behaves. Like, does it let you RM a directory? Which is yes, it does. And then the second question is going to be, does it warn you if the directory has stuff in it or not? Okay, so it actually behaves like rmdir on Linux, which is not it's on Linux it's a separate command, whereas here it's not, but otherwise it looks like the behavior is the same, where it's saying you can delete an empty directory but not... Oh, it actually does have an rmdir. Oh, interesting. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe rmdir does delete, but you need to do don't you need to do... Well, I'm thinking rm-r, aren't I? Yeah, I'm thinking rm-r, which will delete everything. Okay, realistically, we should probably aim for the same interface as this. So we should probably, currently we have an RM. We probably should make an rmdir as well. And we should make them behave the same way as AMPI does, I think, ultimately. Now that's very cool. Nice. Glad that you think so. Let's see. All right, let's give it a try. So I have a bunch of directories that we can delete. Let's see if we need to remove this first. Nope. So you can see all of these, basically when I was testing the creators, ended up with a lot of these. So I'm pretty sure these are all empty. Even if they're not, there's nothing important in any of them. So we can delete those. So let's try rm pizzadir. And if this works right now, it would delete the directory and all the contents no matter what. It would not have any extra flags. It would not have any warnings. It would just delete instantly. Well, not instantly. It's relatively slow, truth be told, but without further interaction, let's say. It does still end up connecting and disconnecting twice, though, because it basically checks if the device is connected or not. Or it checks if the device like exists, basically, by connecting and running a command, but then it just immediately disconnects and then immediately reconnects, which is not the best. Eventually, we may try to refactor that. Okay, so after send delete, it looks like after BLE create directory, it looks like we have an extra print still. This is technically after this. Realistically, we don't even probably need this one though. And let's do another ls and see if we actually got rid of pizzadir. Oh. It says backends 1622. That's just callback handler. And it says 1628 cannot unpack non-iterable. None type. Oh, okay, it returned none. Why would it return none? Cannot unpack non-iterable none type. I think that's right, because it's trying to unpack whatever got returned into two things. But it does ultimately just say it says coroutine sleep was never awaited. But like we literally just completed an ls successfully, right? Like a minute ago. Like, and the code didn't change. Why? How could we ever? How could that kind of error, right? That I'll be honest, I don't truly understand a lot of the async IO code that much. But this error, sleep was never awaited, feels very much like it's kind of syntax error, right? Like that's kind of, to me, that says like we're supposed to do it like this. But we just ran the same code a minute ago and it worked. And there, I would not have thought that that behavior was like dependent on anything else, right? Like you either need to write the code that way or not. Okay, unfortunately, okay, we'll see. No, it actually does. Okay, I was gonna say we might be in one of our weird states. It's not doing too bad so far. Okay, we actually made it back. Okay, and it did work. We did delete that directory. So yeah, and we did succeed this time. So what is, I don't know what that error could be about. I almost think like that can't be the actual error, right? Like it must be, there's a different cause. And maybe the thing is like that other cause happened during this sleep and that made this message pop out. Yeah, that could be, I guess. I don't know though. That's weird, right? This does not feel like a. This feels like a thing that should be the same every time you run it. I think I've been here before. So this is not with sleep though, specifically. None of these really are actually with sleep specifically. Yeah. I don't quite follow. We saw this too, though. All right, well, let's delete Pizzader 1 and see if that was just a fluke. Like, do we always get a broken LS after a delete? Or do sometimes the delete work and then the LS also works? Basically, because if it was just a complete fluke on the LS, I'm inclined to not necessarily keep digging for the specific issue that caused it. But if it's like always messes up the LS after an RM or something, then we definitely want to try to fix it because it's probably the RM that's broken. All right, we do not have the extra print anymore, which is nice. Let's hit it with another LS. And I have found on my computer doing this back and forth with the, well, really with any other settings pane and the Bluetooth one, for whatever reason, causes my Bluetooth adapter to like wake up or something. Like sometimes I'll run this code and it's just sitting there waiting, basically never gonna work, and then I do that back and forth there. It wakes up the adapter or whatever, and then it's good to go. All right, so we did get this. We did get this again. Well, something. We got the exact same thing again. That is very weird. Okay, so before, so technically this sleep comes after. Oh, I think I know. Ready to return. No, that should get set back to false. I was gonna say was removed dir setting that, but it shouldn't be doing that either. Yeah, we deleted that. We did have that code at one point. So what is true? Before BLE lister and then true. BLE lister. So we got a true before we got this. Oh, right here. Oh, okay. Starts with. Okay, fair enough. So this printed. But the after never did until the exception. Before, true, and then this. So if I just, well, and it's like still running technically. Gotta kind of slam that to get it out. And then if I just try again, it works. I wonder if when it succeeds, if it ever actually calls sleep in there. Like, does this ever actually happen? And this did succeed, and it is gone again. So far, the RM succeeds, and everything is fine, but then the LS that comes after it seems to reliably fail. And then the next LS after that succeeds. I almost wonder, I mean, but we read the whole response for the delete, right? Maybe let's just, well, I just did 2 LSs back to back now, but I did change it as well. Okay, so it never actually gets in there. We never got that new print that I just added. We go from inside to after, and it would be between those two. Because after... No, actually, I guess it would be after. But we don't have that. We just have took, and then we have all the results. So this was true right away. Okay, so then when it fails, it does go in here. This code is a syntax error, never succeeds. But for some reason, when the ls comes after an rm, when we get to here, we're actually not ready to return. Which does not make any sense. Let's go back to uninstall and make super duper sure that we're not touching self dot ready to return. No, nothing inside uninstall touches ready to return. So nothing in here is setting that to true. I mean, my only thought is we're like somehow messing up the read at the end, and then there's like some bit left in the channel or whatever. Okay, let's one step at a time though. Let's verify this sort of hypothesis though. So let's do our RM and then let's do another LS and see if this prints. I mean, it seems like we don't even really need this, honestly. But then I guess Lord only knows what return value is set to if that was actually... Why would that be false though? I don't know. That's weird. Okay, let's verify. So let's just delete another pizza. We can delete pizza dir 2. Okay. We actually just say after send delete. We never print what we received. We should. Let's print what we receive, which is after send delete. In fact, it must have not worked because we have after. Okay. We have after send delete, which is here. But then we try to we try to unpack the data into command and status. Okay, so for one thing, I accidentally didn't do this, but we must not be getting this at all. Print received unpacked, received unpacked. Okay, let me just do, I guess, RM pizza dir 3. I wonder if this will fail also, or if only the ls afterwards fails. Yeah, see, I can't like say that it's definitely the case, but sometimes I feel like it basically starts working as soon as I do that back and forth. Other times it still kind of waits a little longer, but okay, we received unpack 48. Really, we want hex, I guess, but that's all right. 48. How do we get that back? Int 48 from base 16. That's not right. It is just hex 48. That's what it is. Okay, hex, so 30. It should be 31. There's your problem. So I like read my own command, but it still also succeeded. So the server also read it. So we write encoded command and delete path. And then we read, we put that into response data. Then we try to unpack that. Are we just reading our own command? Oh, this time I'm not gonna have to do it, I don't think. Yeah, it's just gonna go the first time. Okay, yeah. I totally just got back the same thing that I sent. So then probably when we then try to do the ls afterwards, we're probably getting the response, the result of the they call it status, I guess. We're probably getting this inside the ls processing. Why do we read our own thing though? Why do we not read the reply? So this makes me worried about the makedir actually, because makedir basically is what we copied, which is doing effectively the same thing. Create an encoded command, write the encoded command and the directory path, and then right away it's going to go and say read response data, store that into there, unpack that. And this is succeeding. Well, but if this is succeeding, that means that's true, which means we actually are reading the status for the makedir. Just 41. Does it print that? Okay, dir. So we just deleted pizza dir 4, so let's create it again. Right? thinking we might actually just be reading the same thing we're writing here too. And if we're not, then the question becomes, why does this work here where we write something and then we read something? But if in here we're actually getting the response, why? And how do we get the response in the other one? Do we just need to wait a little bit longer between when we write and then when we read, or? I don't know if we're gonna make it on this one. Never delete a pizza dir. Well, unfortunately, I mean, the good news is I've got a lot of pizza dirs to spare, so while we are gonna delete one, well, we're probably gonna end up deleting a few more by the time all is said and done. We have a lot. I think I got up to like 18 or 19, so we still got a few before we're running out. Yeah, totally. Okay. I didn't notice that before. But that we're not actually we are reading our own command. We're not actually getting the response. I think, right? Let's just make absolutely super duper sure. Resp data. No, not yeah, resp data, which needs to be after we receive it, obviously. Resp data. We will create pizza dir 3, which we also deleted a moment ago. So I can tell, so this did not ever print make dir complete, which tells me that, you know, obviously these two things weren't true, and most likely I bet that even this whole make dir status was not true, because I bet we just got make dir because we are actually just reading the command that we sent in the previous line. Device was not found. Okay, so device was not found. I think that one we can actually just try again, but then do this. Should be good after that, maybe. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, can you tell I was thinking about dinner when I was testing this last time? The name of my directories. Okay, so wait, what? Oh, this is the wrong place. This is actually inside of the installed dir BLE. Is not where we need to be. Right here is where we need to be. This is in create directory. So we need to, basically we need to use notify. I was trying to get away on these ones where we only receive one response. I was trying to get away from the idea of using notify and the callback handler. But it's looking like we can't or shouldn't do that, basically, because what I was changing away from was like start up the register the notify handler and then write the characteristic, and then the next thing that would happen is we would get a callback on that handler. So I was changing from that to now this, which is write the characteristic, and then we were trying to read the characteristic, do stuff with the response. Yeah, see, this is the same thing we sent. All right. So it's succeeding, like the device is creating the directory, but we're not getting the response correctly. So we actually need to use notify and the callback handler inside of here, which I did have at one point, but I took out. callback handler. So that's going to be what now? Data. Let me look at one of these. Underscore, which is the, well, it's the characteristic and then it's the data. We can get rid of those, I think. I don't think we need those. So callback handler is basically gonna do everything that came after this. I'm not, yeah, okay, so we'll write there. So this is receive data. We don't have to client.read. Instead, it's going to get passed to us as data right here. And in a lot of these things, I am doing this kind of thing. Because I found that I was getting duplicated responses sometimes. Okay, so data comes in, we say if data is not in the previous data packets, then we're going to go inside this if statement where we are going to add data to the previous data packets so that if this gets called twice with the same data, then the second time it's going to get ignored. We do that, and then after that, so we know that we're not in a duplicate, then we're going to go and try to unpack we're actually already printing this up here, so I'm not going to bother printing it twice. Okay, and then we need to actually, we need to start notify before we write the characteristic, because us writing the characteristic is like the thing that's going to trigger it to, you know, hopefully write back to us, which would then trigger the notify. So let me grab a start notify. And I guess we'll just do it there for now. So we start notify, which means we register the callback handler. So whenever new data comes in, it's going to call our function. Then we go and we build our command. We actually write our command with the dir we want to create. That's going to cause the server to then write back to us, which is going to get us notified and call our handler. We're going to receive this data. We're going to try to unpack it. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't do anything. I don't know if we would need this part or not. I think we don't need that part, but I'm not sure. Whoops. Okay. Create a pizza dir one. We've almost recreated all the ones we've deleted at this point. Okay. So, this is a different problem that I had at one point. And unfortunately, this is actually a different problem that I, some of the times, was leading to not really being able, like, getting locked up, basically, to BLE. Okay. So now the problem is this never returned. I mean, I took out that return and I jokingly said it doesn't need it. But I mean, it doesn't need it. I don't think that will matter. Okay. So the problem now is this doesn't finish. This did not finish, which is one of the things I was trying to fix when I ended up changing this to not use the callback. So now we're back to the callback. The callback actually worked successfully in that we got the real response that contains the actual status. The actual status was okay. We printed this. But then the program just never finished. So, like, theoretically, it would have gone to here. This would have been false because okay is different than error. It would have gone to here. This would have also been false because error read-only is also different than okay. So both of these are false. We don't do either of those. That's the end of the callback handler. So there's nothing else to do. So it should finish, I thought. But it doesn't. It's stuck. It basically went here. Presumably it returned from callback handler. Wait. This needs to be in. There we go. So, yeah. So there's like some magic here that I don't understand. So I guess let's see if I can actually get back to, so I just did aborted. What does this show here? So see, this still shows connected here. That still shows connected. And I think at this point, I basically have to do this. Maybe even remove device there. Actually, we just kind of have to hope this works, truthfully. Because sometimes it was actually getting me to the point where I was stuck. So okay, let me just do an ls. Also, while that's running and hopefully succeeding, which it looks like it will, I'm going to run to the restroom. BRB. Okay, so this ls finished while I was gone, and it took 25 seconds total, and then it finished. And it finished. It returned. It was done. It gave control back to my terminal. Whereas the last one didn't. The last one got stuck until I used Control C. Finally, we broke out after 4 minutes because I Control C'd. But it was basically stuck. It was never going to break out unless I Control C'd. But what is it about, like I don't understand how it can be stuck in that state, basically, because it had finished. We know it made it to here, which at the time was the last statement inside the callback handler, which should have been the last thing that happened, and then nothing else really should have happened after that. Normally, it's just ending after that. I don't know how it's knowing to end correctly, but normally it's just ending. So if we look at Lister, we're going to see something that's basically the same. So inside BLE Lister, we create our client, we pair, we start notify. So that part's all, that part's all the same so far. I really... So let's do create directory over here. So create directory, we pair, we ignore the result, we start notify. Lister, we pair, we start notify. We create the encoded command. Same thing here, we create the encoded command, then we write the encoded command. We write the encoded command right here. And then in Lister, so we have, we did our notify, so we have callback handler. Inside callback handler, if data is not the previous data. So that's one difference. I used not in. I mean, I guess if it just kept sending us the same data with infinite loop, maybe we should add a print. Well, but we had this print, so we would have been printing that over and over, and it wasn't. So we know it wasn't. Yeah, we know this was not getting more callbacks. Okay. Yeah, those are slightly different, but functionally, I don't think should make any difference. But at some point, maybe we change one or the other to verify, because at this point, I really don't know what's going on. So in our callback handler here for Lister, we the difference there is it's not doing a list. And instead it's just doing only the single previous packet. It also is building up an incoming data buffer, and it's calling attempt parse entries every time that it receives data, and it's not a duplicate on the incoming data buffer, everything we've received so far. Attempt parse entries has got all of its logic in here, which is basically trying to tell if it's done receiving data or not. So actually, one difference here is we have this, but we also, I think, learned earlier that we're never really using this. And that this is blocking, because we basically never go into this loop. Okay. So basically, what it boils down to is I have no idea why. So I'm just going to reset this. Whoops. I'm going to reset the microcontroller, go back to BLE workflow mode. I'm going to try makedir again. Pizza cheese stir. Could we have still had some data stuck in the stream or whatever? Is it possible that because we were not using notify and therefore we were not reading the actual thing that the server was sending, that maybe that thing that the server was sending was staying in the stream or whatever, and that kept the connection alive? Is that a plausible thing? Because basically, if we run makedir like this, and if it just sits there and keeps the connection alive and never finishes, I don't know why it's doing that, and I don't know how to make it finish. And I don't know why the lister one would be any different. Yeah, and it is. Like, we did the whole same thing again, basically. We got our notify callback. We received our data. The data is, in this case, telling us everything's fine. Makedir is complete. And then nothing else happens. We're just stuck. It's infinite looping. But I really don't get the difference between this and lister. Like, lister has got different logic for trying to check the entries. I guess it's got different it does have different logic for this. We could change that. And then the only other difference, I put this back and it didn't make a difference. The only other difference was it had the this, but we know that that's not really needed or not really doing anything. We're never going inside of it. And even if we did go inside of it, it is invalid syntax, and so it crashes anyway. Honestly, this whole chunk here was based on a false assumption about how this worked. I thought this would be blocking, and it would instantly go to the next statement without waiting for that to be done. So then that's why this was trying to loop and wait until it was ready to return. But in reality, this ended up being blocking. So when it calls this, it does not execute this until after this returns, which in this case is not happening. Because we can see here, we get BLE, we get before, well, this is lister. We get, well, we don't actually have before, do we? We should print that, I guess. But we never got after, so we know we never made it to there. And it's keeping this connection alive too. Like here it just says connected, and it will never succeed now like this unless or until I have to completely toggle my Bluetooth, because I can't get it disconnected otherwise. And if I try to just disconnect it without toggling the Bluetooth, it will crash my settings window. At least that's what it was doing the other day. And I don't really want to push it too hard while I'm on the stream. Because if I get it completely locked up, then it's going to be unfortunate. Okay, so we did a completely cold boot, create directory, so we ruled out any kind of, any kind of thing where there could possibly be any kind of like data still in the stream or anything. I think is ruled out. Or at least any kind of data in the stream from the fact that we were not using notify before and we were instead just doing write and then read. If that caused any trouble like that, we know that that couldn't have been the case here because this was from a cold boot. So we know whatever our real problem is, it's not related to the way before how we weren't using notify. So I tried, I don't get this. Because, like, basically, in the lister case, I have no idea how it knows to return successfully. Like, it just returns when it's done. And it just works. But I don't know why it works. And now that the other one doesn't work, I'm a little bit lost for being able to make it. Because there's really nothing, like, fundamentally different in here. It's one layer deeper. So callback handler is then calling temp to parse entries. But then once success is true, it does these things, which is just setting some variables. And basically, like, somehow magically, as soon as this is done, this function also returns. Like, it also just knows that it's done. This returns, that allows this statement to run. That allows this to run next, which is ready to return is true, so we don't go inside, and then we just return, and then we're done, everything's over. So at one point, I thought I had 2 of these, or I did have 2 of these, and I thought that was getting me into this state, and I thought that by removing it, it was going to go away. So this exists in the code in some places. I really don't think this is what we want to do. Not sure if I did I power cycle the BLE? I'm not sure. Another thing I don't get is why this can ever take more than 30 seconds. We have a 30-second timeout. Maybe was it 60 seconds? Did something, I changed it to 60. Either way, it's one or the other. But somehow it still goes longer than that. Sometimes, but other times it doesn't. That time, I was a little bit too impatient for the 1 minute. Did not want to do that. Can't left click. Right click. Oh, that is super annoying. Usually I can right click on this and then choose remove, but that's just not working anymore. Now I'm getting worried that we are like getting to the point where we're maybe locking up the BLE adapter. So this time, this time we forced it to return by exiting. We made it through here, then we exited. But then that told us that basically we didn't catch this exception. So it's treating that sys.exit as an exception. So we could try to create that. We could try to catch that, I guess. So it also never went to here, because it never printed after. I guess we could try catch or something. But it also didn't disconnect. It still shows connected. So I think it's still now going to be in a state where like it won't ever succeed until I power cycle the adapter, basically. Like that's the only way to get it to disconnect. Just power off the adapter. Because I think there's still some part of that. I think there's still some part of this instance that's like running somehow, or maybe not part of this instance on my computer, but maybe we started some kind of transaction. We got the server into a state where it's like just sitting waiting for us to finish whatever that transaction was, but that's never going to happen because our program finished. I don't know, but here I think we're like, oh, hey, this popped up now. Okay. So if I just remove, no, that crashes this. Okay, so yeah, if I remove, it crashes my settings. And the only thing I can do really to remove it is disable BLE. So, and that's the same state it was in after I Control-C'd before. So I was like, you know, maybe we can just explicitly exit and then that will disconnect us or whatever, but that's not working either. And I just don't understand why on the lister command, why on the lister command does it magically know when to return and return? and disconnect. So part of the magic is in the with bleak client. Because like the idea is the with context handler is supposed to make it so that it's going to disconnect the client whenever this block of code is done. But the truth about when this block of code is done is pretty murky, honestly, because it's calling start notify on the callback handler, and then it's calling write, and then it should be returning right after that. So then it's going to return right after that. But somehow it's smart enough to know that because this is registered or whatever, that even though this has returned, which ordinarily, once this returns, that would be the end of this block, which would mean that the shutdown on this context handler gets called, which would disconnect us. But somehow it doesn't. Somehow it magically knows callback handler was registered, so even though this block is ending, we keep this object around. It doesn't get disconnected. Its shutdown handler doesn't get called. And in the case of lister, it just magically figures it out. It knows after it receives the last thing that it's going to return. So I put client on self.client equals client after we created it. Client does have like disconnect and some stuff, but I've tried it and it doesn't work. It's just like, I don't understand where the code is at right now, because it's like none of my code has control anymore. Every function I've written has returned, but it's just still living in infinite looping inside of the like async IO loop or inside of the bleak loop or something. I don't really understand the difference. What's what? So there is an unpair, there is a stop notify we could try. That's it. There's a disconnect. There's disconnect. There's unpair, and there's stop notify. All three of those are sort of shutdown-ish type actions. The thing is, though, like the lister, this one's not calling any of those, and it's just working correctly, figuring it out, no problem. Don't really understand how or why. But then the create directory doesn't. So, but what if we try self.client. Disconnect. So I have tried all of these before, but I don't remember what each of them does. The client class docs. Okay, so client connecting and disconnecting. Yeah, I almost want to just not use the context manager so that way I can call connect and disconnect manually. That way I can disconnect whenever I want instead of relying on whatever magical thing is making it work in the case of the lister. But I also tried at one point not using the context handler, and that didn't work either. So I need to go back to trying it and try it differently, I think. That would also actually be probably ideal, because then we could use the same connection to check if the device is present that we then use to actually send the real command that we want to do. Whereas right now today, we're connecting, we're sending a command to check if the device is present. If it is, we're disconnecting, then we're reconnecting and sending another actual command that we want to do. Maybe it's just time to start that refactor. I was hoping to like get everything functional and then go and refactor to hopefully make it so that it works like that. But I'm starting to lose hope on that, truthfully. So there is disconnect that says it disconnects from the GAT server, always returns true. And it says, that's it, actually. Yeah, I don't know why this is here. Well, I mean, it's here, but it's like, I don't know. That's weird. It's pointing to the next one. So that just says is connected. So we could call disconnect. We could call stop notify. So this says unpair. Unpairing will also disconnect. That's only available on Windows and Linux. It will raise an exception. See, I mean, let's say I call unpair and it works. Then what are we going to do on Mac? I don't know. I guess we don't want to call unpair. All right, let's try disconnect, which is what we have. So we are in the stuck connected. So I ran this, it's still infinite looping. I can break out here, but it still shows connected here. I have to turn this off. And then was I removing from there or no? Like, here's one of those times where I really feel like me clicking that just made it go. So it seemed stuck before, but maybe I didn't wait long enough. So we did. Okay, well, we're not so connect and disconnect are async. We're not allowed to just call connect. We have to await it. But it is still infinite looping here, right? Like it failed on disconnect, but it is still basically just infinite looping. But it did also succeed, and it did also get its callback with its data. I'm gonna double check. We're definitely unpacking the whole thing, right? Or should I, are we printing the whole thing? So we received data there. Yeah. I mean, I think it is the whole thing because actually it is interesting. Maybe it's worth looking into this. Maybe these values are weird somehow, or maybe we're not reading these right. Because I think I would expect it to give us back the same number that we gave it. Because I'm pretty sure it's just giving us, it's supposed to be giving us the timestamp back, isn't it? So create a directory. One byte 41, status byte right afterwards, then 6 bytes of padding, and then 64 bits, so 8 bytes of truncated time, nanoseconds. Resolution maybe less. Okay, that could be actually why it changed. That could be why it changed. Let's print out whatever we're sending, and then let's also print out whatever we received. And then I've also added the await here, so we'll see what that does, because, you know, why don't we change 15 things at once? That's always fun, right? Okay, that is definitely 6 padding bytes. So byte, 6 padding, Q should be 64-bit, I guess. Unsigned long, standard size 8. I think that means 8 bytes, aka 64 bits. And then command status, modified time, should be the 3 values. First byte, command, second byte status. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bytes of padding, then 64 bytes for the modified time. Okay. And we are basically just infinite loop stuck there. So Control C, Bluetooth off, Bluetooth on. We got a bunch more prints, and then we awaited the disconnect this time. So we'll see if we get anything different. Apple standard different, yeah. We'll see if we get anything different from the disconnect, and we'll see if anything interesting gets printed out. We're gonna have a new and exciting way to fail. So this means that the command to check if the device was present succeeded. It's like usually when that one succeeds, the follow-up command typically does as well, although sometimes it does take it a while. It's kind of looking though like Basically, the first one did succeed, but this one is not really looking like it's gonna. And this is another spot where, like, I don't really understand. That's before this, so it would have gone into here, and it would have said timeout equals self.timeout, which we printed at 30. So this should be a 30-second timeout when it's creating the client, but for some reason it seems to let it go longer. So I don't know, will we succeed if we just do this, or? So is it consistently broken this way now? No, okay, there we go. So it's back to, so that finished. So the disconnect maybe is what we need, I guess? So this changed. We lost precision, but that's it though. Everything else is the same. Like all the way 1.7 blah 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 all the way up to 8. That's all the same. And we lost precision after that. We only have zeros after that. Just fine. Basically, this is the number that we sent from the PC. This is the number that the microcontroller sent back to us, and it truncated a lot of it. But it's in nanoseconds, so a lot of it is like a fraction, fractional unit of time that doesn't really matter on the scale of humanity for the most part. Okay, so disconnect is the key then? Question mark? I mean, it seems like it worked. So then let's put a disconnect in the... Let's put a disconnect in the remove dir, because that's actually how we got here. Was I was really working on remove dir, and it was infinite looping, and then I was like, well, uh-oh, if this is infinite looping, I copied it from over here, so that's probably infinite looping too. Uninstall. Oh, okay, so this is actually still back on, doesn't even have the callback handler. We actually need the callback handler on this. So, and I will say, like, if disconnect works, that's cool, and I'm glad that I will have found it if that's the case, but I'm still very confused about why would make dir and presumably remove, like uninstall, delete, why do those need me to explicitly call disconnect, but listdir doesn't? Somehow listdir figures it out, and all the rest of them as well, like reading files, that one also figures it out. Uploading files, that one also figures it out. For whatever reason, all of those ones, they just finish whenever they're finished, and it returns and it's done. But these ones are stuck. Sorry if I'm getting repetitive. I kind of like keep repeating the problem that I'm having, and that oftentimes makes me think about it in different ways and like occasionally actually come to a solution from it. So if you watch me stream and I get repetitive, that's what's going on, is I'm just trying to say the same thing in different ways, and even in the same ways, to look for solutions in my head. So we're going to need to change this one over. So let's get a callback handler going. Let me get down to here so that we can copy, basically. Callback handler. That's going to get the characteristic, which we don't care about, so we're just doing underscore, then the data. We're going to just do this. And after that, we can do the part that is happening here. With the exception of we don't need to read because we're inside the callback now. That's no longer going to be response data. It will just be data. Ouch. So then this is where that's completed, and then I guess we would go self.client.disconnect, but we also need to await that, and then realistically we would want to do this here and here as well, because I assume those will basically function the same way. And I don't think that we need that, although I said that before and it broke and then I put it back. I think we fixed other stuff at that point. So this should be good. Call uninstall, uninstall declares callback handler, declares BLE uninstall, BLE uninstall creates a client, so connects the client, sets it onto self, pairs it, creates an encoded command, writes the coded command. We need to start notify somewhere. We don't have that. Start notify. There we go. Okay, so we start notify on our callback handler. Then we go and we write our encoded command. Now when it writes back to us, that's going to call our callback handler. We check to make sure the data is not duped. Then we try to unpack it, and we're only expecting 2 values. Command and status. Sweet. We disconnect all of those. Okay, so then I think that should work. So we made it up to pizza dir 7, so let's start deleting those. Pizza cheese dir, not just pizza dir, actually. Uh-oh. So now we're kind of in a new failure mode where it's looking like it's just never going to find it for the first connection even. And it's going longer than the timeout, so it's never actually timing out. Not sure really what's up with that, because we're definitely passing the timeout. Okay, so I'm going to add this print there so that if we ever get this problem again, we're going to be able to tell if we ever got connected or not. My hypothesis is that we don't. And I don't know why we're not giving up after the timeout, but we're not. So at some point we might see if any part of my code is actually in control, and if it is, then also maybe manually enforce the timeout by checking the time, comparing it to the time we started at. If it's bigger than the timeout, then and just returning early. That's interesting. Okay, so disconnect failed. Disconnect failed. We got a timeout when we called disconnect. But if we don't disconnect, presuming that it behaves the same as makedir, which is where it was copied from, then it will just infinite loop and stay connected, which it also stayed connected. How can we time out on a disconnect? Interesting. All right, so I took out the disconnect, so let's see if this can return. I mean, maybe makedir does return? Or maybe removedir does return, whereas makedir wasn't? Maybe there's still something wrong with makedir? Okay, so I took out the disconnect, and this now returns. This finishes. It does not have the disconnect, but it prints this. It prints this, and then the next thing that happens is BLE uninstall returns, because the next thing that we actually see is this, which came from here. So we know that after that, this returned, then this printed, and then we were done, and we disconnected, and our program ended. And that's without the disconnect. So why, when we create a directory, does that not happen? Because without this here, it was infinite looping. Well, okay, let me leave it. Let me put it back in. So we're gonna have the disconnect. We're gonna do a makedir. We have the disconnect, so this should return at the end if it succeeds. No. Okay, so maybe the disconnect was a fluke. So the time that this worked is starting to look like a fluke. Because now we got another timeout error. But that means we're going to take this back out, and then what? Either this is going to infinite loop, which is what it did before, and we're stuck because it's an infinite loop. Maybe I need to check is connected and then call this, but it's timeout error. I'm very confused. Honestly, I would say one of my biggest takeaways from this work is if I were ever in need of one of these microcontrollers, like I would reach for web workflow over Bluetooth workflow, basically, is what I'm getting to. Web workflow seems faster, more reliable, and less mysterious than Bluetooth workflow. So now I'm stuck again. We're back to an infinite loop. So I can't. So like once I disconnected and that made it return, which caused the program to like work and do what it's supposed to do. But sometimes disconnect fails with that timeout exception. So it's like it can't even disconnect. BLE seems to have a lot of dark magic happening. Yeah, I am coming to find that that's the case. And I'm about at the end of my ability to rein it in, honestly. Because I'm not getting consistent results, which makes it very difficult to try to work on it. What was it? Is connected? Boolean. I guess I could try. We could wrap it and try. We could, I don't know, catch the whatever. %, also inherently slow. I thought later Bluetooth connected over BLE, then switched to Wi-Fi direct connection for faster transfer. Old phone sync into new phone. That's a Java thing, isn't it? Print stack trace? That's not in Python. I just got a little bit of Java brain there. It's alright, it happens to the best of us. Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, this is the only thing I can even think of is like we try accept the disconnect and like if it's going to be one of the times when it's infinite looping, then hopefully the disconnect disconnects it. And if it's going to be one of the times when it wouldn't infinite loop, then hopefully it doesn't cause an exception or it ignores it. But honestly, I'm not really confident in that because I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna still infinite loop basically sometimes. Because I think there's going to be a case where it's in the infinite loop and the disconnect fails with that timeout. So we are connected, and at this point we should be inside the disconnect, and we probably got the timeout error, and we're still infinite looping. So the disconnect. Actually, we printed Eve, but it didn't ever come. That's odd. Is there a situation where data in packets check could fail due to repeated packets? Is there a situation where it could fail? I'm sure there is. So the thing is, though, at this point, I think we are not. I mean, I could try getting rid of this, but I'm pretty sure we're not receiving this more than once. So I could try just getting rid of it. But it says receive data as the first line in callback handler. So like one avenue for this to be stuck in an infinite loop could be that callback handler is continually getting called, and then presumably with the same data over and over again, so this check would be effectively making it not do anything, but we would be printing here, so we'd be seeing that spam. So the fact that we're not seeing that spam makes us know that callback handler's not getting called over and over. Is there a way this logic could fail? I don't see a way that it could, but I'm sure there probably is, because it's clearly something is wrong, and it's somewhere. So let's try, instead of disconnect. So I don't know why the print didn't print the right exception. I don't know why the disconnect is not working anymore. I don't know why it worked the one time. There's a lot of things I don't know. Let's try instead of disconnect, because I never actually did get to trying stop notify. We went straight into disconnect. We never actually tried stop notify. Do we need to pass anything to that? Because maybe that will like make our callback handler end or whatever, make our whatever's looping end. Oh, we need the specifier. Okay, that's fine. We can just give it the same one. Give it this one right here. Let's see what that does. Control this, power this. Mystery deepens, yeah. And I'm gonna try one or two more things here, because I'm kind of curious, but I will be wrapping it up here pretty quick. So we created that last time. I guess let's keep going. Let's see, so this should do a stop notify instead of a disconnect. That's so weird though, like I don't understand. Okay, so this time, I mean, it seems like end of callback. So we made it through, so that succeeded. I mean, presumably it didn't raise an exception at least. But it's just still not returning. So maybe we stop notify and then we also delete too? Or disconnect too? Maybe disconnect could fail because we didn't start notify? That doesn't really make any sense, but... let's try both. What's else? Does this return anything? None. Doesn't. Okay. So this says notifications are stopped automatically on disconnect. This does not need to be called unless you want to stop sometime before it disconnects. My problem is it's just not disconnecting when it's done. We'll see, I guess. Maybe this will make that not time out, and maybe then it can work like it did the one time. I don't really get why it worked that one time. So this time it succeeded. Disconnect succeeded. Does it return anything? It returns a Boolean, but it's always true. But we did not get the exception, and it did finish. But I'm just gonna run it again right now, create a different directory. What do I think will happen? My hypothesis is this time gets stuck. Nope, it succeeded again. Maybe this is the key. Maybe we do both of these and then we're good. We got third time's the charm here. Well, not really third time's the charm, but working 3 times in a row. Did we get... Oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay. Now it's stuck. Now it's stuck. So... Well, it's not... Well, okay, now it's... now it's stuck. It wasn't stuck before. It was trying to disconnect, waiting for 30 seconds. Then it raised the timeout error. And now... it is actually stuck, because it still hasn't returned, notice. So sometimes disconnect works and it lets the program end. Sometimes disconnect fails, and when disconnect fails, the program just can't end. It's stuck in an infinite loop somewhere between async.io and bleak. I'm not good enough with async.io syntax to know where the blame is at, whether this is a bleak problem or an async.io problem. But one way or another, somehow we get into this situation where none of our actual code, none of the code I've written has control at this point. But somehow we're still in a loop in there. Could it be related to visiting the settings screen during the third test? I mean, any question that's could it be related to, I just cannot answer yes or no. Like, it definitely could be. But I also don't know what else to do or try. I basically have to answer, could it be X? I pretty much have to say, yes, it could be X. Because I don't understand at all the root cause. The root cause in my mind right now could be anything. I don't think that visiting settings breaks it, because most of the time visiting settings is fixing it more than it is breaking it. I'll try a couple of times without doing that at all, and we'll see. We succeeded once. So let's see if, do we always fail on the third one? That would be an interesting pattern. Try to leave the settings screen alone. See, but the thing, so here's like the reason why I was always going to the settings screen. Nope, okay. Maybe I'm just getting a little jumpy on it. Like, I can usually get that to go faster by going there. But let's see. Maybe I should stop doing that. No, I think we're stuck here. So this time I didn't go there, and we got the same stuck thing, basically. Where disconnect gave us the timeout, and then we're still in the infinite loop. To be fair, my phone fails to disconnect some devices sometimes. Bluetooth on and off again, forget device. Yeah, which is basically what I'm doing when I do get to that state. But I can't, I don't think circup or ww shell, like, if it's not more reliable than this, I don't think it can be released, really. The Bluetooth support, at least. Because part of the instructions for Bluetooth can't really just be like, if it infinite loops, then go to settings and toggle it. I guess we need troubleshooting information, so we're going to have to put that somewhere, but I don't think this is like good enough to release, honestly. Especially not without understanding the pattern, if there is a pattern. So do we always succeed one and then fail one? Because that could be the pattern. Okay. No. This time we failed the first one. So we do not always succeed one and then fail one. We sometimes fail the first one. I don't know. I am about out of ideas. I did get, yeah, a second ago I did get 2 in a row. That's true. Yeah, I got 2 successful, and then we died on the third one. Yeah, I don't really know what to try for troubleshooting next, and I'm about at the end of my resources really for Bluetooth and async, to the point where any changes I can make to the code feel like just flailing around and hoping for the best, not really understanding anything about what I'm changing or why it may or may not work, which doesn't feel like the best place to be. I don't know. It would be a bummer to basically have to give up at this point, but I also don't really have a whole lot of confidence in making it reliable after I'm seeing this behavior. But we'll have to see. I don't know. I'll probably give it another try at some point. Maybe I can lock it down to a pattern. Maybe we can get somebody else to take a look at some point as well. See if anybody can get any more information understood about how it's getting into this state or how to not get it into this state or what. But anyway, I think for now I'll wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out. As far as I know, Scott should be back next week. I haven't talked to him about it, so that's not set in stone. But as far as I know, we haven't talked about it for me doing next week. So as far as I know, he'll be back. But if it turns out that he's not, then that's the case too. Keep an eye out on the Discord. He's got the ping thing in there for Deep Diver's role, so he can let you know. Taking a pause is no bad thing. Yeah, put on the back burner seems like a whole new world of extra stuff just for Bleak. Yep. So thanks for watching. Hope everyone has a good rest of your day, good weekend. For anybody who's interested in this kind of content, I'll be back over on my own channel tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. I'll be over there on my own channel, streaming some more CircuitPython work. Probably, I think I will not do Bluetooth for tomorrow, but we'll see how I'm feeling in the morning. If I get an inspiration on some idea of what to try, then maybe I'll get back to this. But as of right now, at least, I'm definitely feeling like working on something else. So, probably something else tomorrow morning. That's over on my channel, 10 a.m. Central Time. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you later.